Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Dr. Cindy, and today we're going to talk about something that I'm incredibly passionate about: your metabolism, insulin resistance, and one powerful natural compound called berberine. It's often nicknamed nature's metformin. I would say I probably have 99.9% of my patients and clients on this amazing supplement, as well as myself, my husband. It has so many different benefits to it. One way or another, you definitely need it. Whether it's inflammation, insulin resistance, you're trying to shrink cancer cells, you're trying to control your cholesterol. It does so many wonderful things. And with very minimal side effects, especially like after you get past the first week, your body adjusts to it beautifully. So that's what I want to talk about today. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Again, I am live on TikTok and also on Facebook. So if I missed your question, it's because I am moderating both. But happy to answer. If you want to email me, Cindy at drcindyross.com. All right, let's get started. So why does this matter? Okay, in the last year, I always research. I'm studying from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed. I review hundreds of labs, and I'm honestly seeing insulin resistance in about 3 out of 4 patients. And many of them had no idea. Even their A1C is like on the cusp of being type 2 diabetic, and their doctors are just saying, hey, let's just watch it and, eat better, work out more. What does that even mean? So you can work out all day long and you can eat as clean as possible. And unless you get your insulin resistance under control, it is not going to budge. So if you're holding a little bit of weight in your midsection and you think it's hormone related, more than likely it's insulin resistance and it's causing some hormone imbalance. So remember, the body is one system. So when one thing gets off, it throws everything else off. Okay. So again, many of my patients have no idea that they have insulin resistance. Some of them look fit, some work out daily. My husband, for instance, fit. He's so fit, always eats clean, supplements, everything, but he has some insulin resistance. And so that's why he stays on berberine. He does about 1,500 milligrams a day. I like it post meals. I've played around with it. I've done it pre, post. I've done it fasted, and my body seems to like it better post meal. I guess for absorption issues. So again, some eat what they believe is clean, and yet their cells aren't responding to insulin the way that it should. And that's what's happening with my husband. He eats clean, but his body just doesn't respond as well. And it could be a little bit of genetics too. His little brother has type 1 diabetes, so there could have been some insulin resistance from way back when he was actually a child. And he's thin, and he has a hard time putting weight on, so it just makes sense. Okay, when insulin resistance starts, everything changes. Your energy, hormones, mood, weight, inflammation, and yes, even cancer risk. I would say that probably 80% of my cancer patients have insulin resistance. And anytime you have insulin resistance, it is a constant fuel source for those cancer cells. So you need to make sure that you are checking to see if you have insulin resistance. And unfortunately, when you go to your doctor, they're not really checking, right? They're checking your fasting glucose, which a lot of times is fine, but they're not checking your HOMA IR. That's a huge marker, and it's something that you would want to calculate to see where you fall at, because again, if you're not fixing this, it's going to be a constant fuel source for those cancer cells to be activated. And again, I always say that we should live like we have stage 4 cancer. We all should be in that prevention mode. So we're going to unpack all this as we go through this segment tonight or today. So just make sure that you stay tuned. So what is insulin resistance? I want you to think of insulin as a key. Its job is to unlock the cells so glucose can get inside and be used for energy. But when insulin resistance develops, those receptors become dull. So they're not as sensitive as what they need to be. And what happens is your body produces too much insulin. It doesn't know what to do with it, and it's going to store it as fat, usually in your midsection. I always ask if someone comes to me and they think that they are having hormone issues. I'm like, are you holding weight in your midsection? It's always yes. And when they're holding weight in that midsection, it just is a key indicator that they have insulin resistance going on. All right, so it's just like a keyhole. It gets damaged from overuse over and over and over. So we want to make sure those receptors stay as sensitive as possible to insulin. So the body compensates by releasing more insulin just to do the same job. And insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone, it's also a growth signal. High insulin tells the body, store fat, turn food into triglycerides, hold on to belly weight, increase inflammation, shut down repair and longevity pathways. This is why insulin resistance is linked to weight gain and plateaus, fatigue after meals, PCOS, fatty liver, sleep problems, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. That's a huge one as well. If you got any brain fog going on, you might want to check to see if you have insulin resistance. And because insulin is a growth promoter, research suggests that it may play a role in cancer environments. Again, if the body's not balanced, that is a breeding ground for cancer to grow, which we don't want to be there, okay? So it's not just a claim, it's actually physiology, like literally the body's physiology. So what is the crisis? We have normalized cravings, fatigue after meals, big appetites, belly fat, high triglycerides, brain fog, and constant hunger. But these are not normal. They become normality, especially as we age. Everything is just, it's dismissed as just being normal. It comes with age. Not just for you dismissing it, but for your doctors dismissing it. It is not okay. Insulin resistance can begin 10 years before blood sugar ever becomes abnormal. So when you go to your doctor and they're checking your fasting glucose and they say, Johnny, everything looks great, it's not fine. If you're holding weight in your midsection, you have fatigue, you have any of these sugar cravings that I'm talking about, you probably have insulin resistance. And again, it takes 10 years to reflect in that fasting glucose. Just like it takes 10 years for cancer to show up in your blood work. It's there growing. It's there in the background. So you better have a functional medicine doctor that knows how to read patterns, that understands the underlying cause, and then that way we can get everything reversed before it becomes a full-blown disease. So yes, you can have a normal A1C and still be metabolically dysfunctional. Remember that. All right, so just because your doctor says, Johnny, your A1C looks great, your fasting glucose looks great, they're not checking your full metabolic panel. Insurance doesn't cover it, so they don't check it. This is where berberine gets exciting. Berberine is a bioactive compound found in plants like golden seal, Oregon grape, barberry, and it's been used for thousands of years in traditional Chinese medicine. But in modern medicine, berberine is gaining attention because it activates a metabolic pathway called AMPK. The metabolic switch, when AMPK turns on, the body shifts from storing to burning. And here's what AMPK activation does. It improves insulin sensitivity, increases fat burning, reduces liver glucose production, lowers inflammation, improves mitochondrial function, balances your lipid metabolism. It's the same pathway activated by metformin, fasting, exercise. So berberine works with lifestyle changes, not instead of them. Remember, it's an enhancement, okay? So it's going to work. You got to do the work. There is no magic pill. You got to put the work in. Everybody always thinks, if I can just take this. No, you got to change. You got to get your sleep in. You got to get your exercise, your weightlifting. Hey, Leslie. You got to, it's all pieces of the pie. So make sure that you are doing the work, and berberine is just going to be a benefit. So let's talk about blood sugar control. So a lot of studies compare its glucose lowering effects to metformin. I know you all have heard of metformin. It's been around forever. But metformin has the side effects, right? Like it messes with your stomach. Berberine might make your stomach a little upset, not bad the first week. After that, your body gets used to it. But ultimately, it is so much better for your GI process than metformin. It doesn't alter gut microbiome in the same negative way. So it's definitely better for that. Also, it helps reduce that visceral fat, the dangerous kind around the organs, the really deep, thick fat. It also improves cravings, all kinds of cravings, alcohol cravings, sugar cravings, carb cravings, all that you will notice it diminishes. And it reduces overeating, which is another plus. We are so accustomed to getting these large portions, it drives me insane. We go to these restaurants and I look around, and the portions literally, this is something I used to teach in my grocery store tours. When you get to the restaurant and you sit and you get your food, go ahead and ask for a to-go box, because you have enough food on your plate there that it's going, especially in the deep south where we live, that you're going to have lunch for the next couple of days. You could have dinner for the next couple of days. So don't overeat just because it's put in front of you. Take it home. Go ahead and half it. That's like the best rule of thumb. That way you're not tempted to eat more, and it takes about 10 minutes for your body to realize that it's full. So go ahead and put it in that to-go box and know that you already have food prepped for the next couple days. All right, this is what I love about berberine too. This is when I originally put Jason on it, when we found out that he had LP little a, because it's huge for lipid improvements. Berberine can naturally lower your LDL, triglycerides, but this is the most important one. It improves the HDL ratio. The HDL is what I really study, because that is where your hormones are made. That is where cognitive function is. So that is your healthy cholesterol. And so many times, my cancer patients, they're down in the 20s, 30s. You want that HDL between 70 and 90. You want it nice and high and healthy. Because again, if you got so many things that are depressing your hormones, we don't really get a true number of what your estrogen is, what your estradiol is, what your testosterone is, because you got so many different factors that are suppressing the hormones. We don't really even know what's going on. So this is part of getting the terrain back balanced, is get that HDL up. So that's what I love about berberine, is because it really helps the body improve the HDL. That way the body doesn't stay in that breeding ground for cancer to grow. A low vitamin D and HDL and insulin resistance, you are a firestorm waiting to happen with a cancer diagnosis. So that is one factor that you really need to hone in on, is berberine can improve HDL ratios. Love it. Gut health. So it has antimicrobial and prebiotic effects. It helps to rebalance the microbiome, and it reduces candida overgrowth, which is huge, because a lot of people that have gastric inflammation also have candida overgrowth. So if you've taken a round of antibiotics, definitely want to be on berberine. We want to restore that gut microbiome. So this is the reason that I take it, is for the inflammation, the oxidative stress. It supports immune regulation, it reduces cytokines, and it helps the body return to a less inflammatory state. I notice a huge difference, especially I have some cancer patients that take 4 a day. Usually the recommendation just for general wellness is 3 a day. Once you get that insulin resistance under control, you could do a maintenance 1 to 2 a day is fine. That's where I'm at. I take 2 a day. So I think Jason takes 3 a day. A lot of my cancer patients take 4. So it just depends on what you have going on. That's why when someone asks me how much they should take, I'm like, I don't know unless we do labs, because I'm just kind of shooting in the dark, guessing, and we don't want to be guessing. Again, you cannot manage what you're not measuring. Hey Tila, exactly what I've always done. The to-go box thing works. Yes. Okay. So this is where the conversation gets really important. So cancer cells thrive in high insulin environments, high glucose availability, chronic inflammation, dysregulated metabolic signaling. Insulin is a growth signal, and cancer loves growth signals. So, while I'm not making medical claims, here's what the research is exploring. Berberine may inhibit glycolysis, the sugar burning process cancer relies on. It may activate the AMPK, reducing growth signaling. It may slow angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessel, tumor use. It may help support apoptosis, the natural cell death process. Again, the research is ongoing, but I'm seeing it over and over and over. And again, I read from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed. I'm listening to podcasts, and everyone's saying the same thing, from Dr. Hyman to Dr. Stacy, Peter Attia. I mean, all of them. They're all saying the same thing. So just do your homework and really start researching berberine, and you will be amazed at the impact that this little plant chemical can do for the body. Again, the research is ongoing, but the metabolic implications are really promising. Cancer is not just a genetic disease, it's also deeply metabolic. Supporting metabolic health matters. They go hand in hand. You got to have good metabolic health to keep the cancer at bay. Okay, so let's talk about taking this safely. Again, unless you're doing labs, you don't really know, but most people do best with about 500 milligrams. That's usually how it comes, is 500 milligrams. 2 to 3 times per day with meals, not all at once, divide it. And then pairing options, berberine and milk thistle for liver support. You could do berberine and cinnamon or chromium for added metabolic benefit. I do cinnamon pretty much all day long. I love it because it controls glucose. I love the taste of it as well. It's also anti-inflammatory. All right, so let's talk about who should avoid or use caution when taking berberine. Pregnancy or breastfeeding. I've had a lot of pregnant ladies actually take it, and it was their second go around, and maybe their first go around they got gestational diabetes. They had no issues. They were taking berberine. Of course, not the, I think they were like maybe 1 to 2 a day, and it controlled their glucose enough where they never got gestational diabetes. And they breastfed, no issues whatsoever. But again, that is something that you need to talk to with your OBGYN, your general practitioner. Everybody has a different stance on it. People on insulin or diabetes medication, definitely talk to your provider before you add in this, because the risk of hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, so we definitely don't want that. Anyone prone to low blood sugar without monitoring, you definitely want to make sure that you talk to your general practitioner about that as well, because berberine does drop your blood sugar. So cycle that's recommended is 8 to 12 weeks on, 1 to 2 weeks off. I usually do this like if I know I'm taking a vacation. I don't want to pack all my supplements. So that's a really great time if you got a vacation coming up to come off your supplements for a week. And just give your body a break. So if you're struggling with weight loss, cravings, fatigue after meals, stubborn belly fat, brain fog, or labs that just don't make sense, you may not have a willpower problem. You may have a metabolic signal problem. All right, I got some questions, some Q&A questions. I'm just going to bring them over so I can see them. Alright. Okay. So let's see what we have. Okay, what's the best way to take berberine? Split dosing works best. 500 milligrams with breakfast, 500 milligrams with lunch, and then optional 500 milligrams with dinner. Again, I take it post meals, so taking it with meals improves tolerance and results. So that is something always good to know. Can berberine help if I don't have diabetes or weight problems? Absolutely. I don't have either. and it helps definitely take it for inflammation. So you don't need a diagnosis to benefit from better metabolic signaling. And again, as we age, our metabolic function declines. So it's something that we always want to be working on. Berberine supports inflammation, lipids, gut health, hormone balance, and longevity pathways, especially the AMPK activation, which supports your mitochondrial health and cellular repair. Is berberine helpful for cancer support? Yes. Emerging research suggests that berberine may support metabolic pathways that make the internal environment less favorable for cancer growth, such as lowering insulin, supporting AMPK activation, reducing inflammation, and helping to regulate glucose metabolism. It is not a replacement for treatment, but it may play a role in a broader integrative metabolic support approach. All right, I'm only going to do a couple more, so I won't keep you guys too long today. Does berberine help with weight loss? Yes. Not because it's a fat burner, but because it improves how the body uses the fuel. When insulin becomes more efficient, the body stops storing everything as fat and it starts burning more glucose and fat for energy. This leads to easier weight loss and better metabolic flexibility. Remember, work out, lift weights, get your steps in, eat better, and this will all help with that, okay? It's an enhancement. It's not a fix-all. How long does it take to see results? I get this question a lot. For me, it seemed like it took 3 months. But for some people, patients of mine will call me and tell me they've lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Everybody's different. I wish there was a one-size-fits-all, but unfortunately there's not. Most people feel subtle changes, fewer cravings, better energy, less post-meal fatigue within 7 to 21 days. Measurable changes in labs, like your A1C, your fasting, insulin, triglycerides, usually takes about 8 to 12 weeks. All right, guys, if you don't have any questions for me live... best berberine, Nancy's asking best berberine product to purchase. I love integrative therapeutics. That's the one that I take. I have a full script dispensary that all my patients use. It's on my website, lifewellnessforever.com, under resources, Nancy, and you can go there. Lori, same thing. Integrative therapeutics. It is available on full script. It is one of my favorites. It's not too costly. And it's such a great product. So integrative therapeutics, 500 milligrams, and you can take it as directed, play around with it. But I would recommend getting your labs done to see exactly what's going on. Remember, it's not a magic pill, but it is a very powerful metabolic tool. I hope this helps, and if you guys have any questions, email me, Cindy at drcindyross.com, if you want me to review labs or go over labs with you to see exactly if you have insulin resistance going on. Reach out to me, lifewellnessforever.com. Give me a call, 251-635-7477. If you are in Orange Beach area, stay dry today. It is cold and wet. I think it is in Mobile too. And I know we're kicking off the holidays, so just be mindful of all the holiday parties and the added calories. Remember, you're going to pay for it. It's going to cause inflammation, so now is the perfect time to jump on berberine to start fighting off those crazy sugar cravings, right? So, all right, thanks a lot for tuning in as always. I appreciate you all, and I will see you next week. Have a great day.